Good afternoon, everyone. We're here for our first session of India Design 2024. So super excited. I'm here with Deepika Jindal and Salil, who of course needs no introduction because Kohler is what powers India Design today. So I'm going to do a little bit of a Q&A, get to know these two a little better and what they do, and probably leave the last 5 odd minutes for some questions if you guys have some. Deepika ji, I'd like to start with you. You're the creative head and managing director of Jindal Lifestyle. I must say, embarrassingly so, I've been a great admirer of your work. I know that you came from a conservative Marwari family. You got married into a large business family. And when we talk about legacies and brands, it's a family that could have probably swallowed somebody. But you have so beautifully created a legacy of your own. And I want to know a little bit about this journey of where the seed of Ardenox began and your desire to do so much more with Jindal Steel and what they were doing.
Well, actually, I started this journey very late in my life. I must have been about 39 years of age when my children were already almost going off to pre-university, and I'm very thankful about that because I had something. And it so happened that, you know, if you think back regarding stainless steel in India, it was always considered a very layman's material and metal which was used for under the counter in kitchens or at home. It was never for the dining space where we used to eat. So, I mean, my husband is into stainless steel, and it was he actually who came across this idea that, you know, somebody needs, he said somebody, he didn't say me. So he said somebody needs to do something to make this you know, a material which is, you know, somebody, we have to find somebody who can create it. Like you go outside India, you see such beautiful artifacts. Somebody needs to do it. And I think that thought which he had, I think maybe he did some homework. And it's very difficult to start a business which had no grounding in India, with nobody really doing it. And it required some funding and some infrastructure, and it's not a cheap material to work with. So that's how the journey, and so finally one day he came and said, would you like to do this? I said, why not? And you know, I had been married at the age of 19. I had really no clue of business or of running a business, anything, but women are inherently very creative. So I just took this challenge. I said, I have to prove myself and to the others. And you're very right. It was very difficult because I come from a family which are all great achievers. You know, so in my journey, I definitely had a lot of, you know, issues with when I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I was always feeling I've let myself down. Am I letting the family down? But it was a journey which was great, and that's how this whole thing started. He gave me this mantle that why don't you do something? And that's when the seed of this whole journey began.
So you started this when you were 39.
Yes.
And I think that is such a wonderful thing. Actually, one of the things when I was reading about you, and of course I know of you, is that how you keep reinventing yourself. But I'm going to come back and talk to you about that. Salil, here is a young brand, Ardenox, and here you are spending half your time in India and half your time in Thailand, working so, and no pun intended.
I don't know what they're thinking. All work, by the way, just clarifying.
I really didn't mean it like that, but yeah. You know, working with the company Kohler, which I think is about 150 years old, from what I remember correctly.
Yes.
And that's a long time. That is a serious legacy we're talking about. And not everyone manages to survive. And there's also, and my question here is actually, there's legacy, and then there's brand building. And not all the time do both the things align. Because to keep a brand alive, and I'll let you talk about that more, I think sometimes different steps need to be taken. So please tell us about Kohler, its legacy, and here you are between Thailand and India, so, you know.
Yeah, I think I need to explain why I go to Thailand to begin with. All work. But I just wanted to say that what's unique about Kohler, firstly, it's a family-held organization. We are privately held. The founders are part of the organization. There is a fundamental, almost maverick streak of creativity that has started right from our original founder, John Michael Kohler. And that entrepreneurship crossed with creativity is what's actually kept us relevant through the years.
May I interrupt and ask?
Yeah.
So am I correct to say it started as a family business?
It's still a family business.
It's still a family business.
Yeah.
So we still, because there's a thing where you call it a family business and then you call it a business family, but you
Right.
marketing guys would know better about that. So Kohler is still called a family business because it's fourth generation
Right.
of the Kohler family running it.
That's correct.
So they've made a whole success out of what is still called a family business.
Yes, it is probably one of the top 3 best regarded family enterprises in US, not merely because of how the business has been run and the metrics of the business, it's also how they've given back to the country and the community and all of that. So the starting point was happenstance, and that tells you how entrepreneurial our founding fathers were actually. John Michael Kohler was a young immigrant in Wisconsin, and he used to work in his father-in-law's farm implements factory. And this was the 1870s. US was going through a recession. Nobody wanted to buy farm implements. So the business was, let's say, under duress. And sometimes the best entrepreneurial spirit shines when the stakes are against you, like Deepika just mentioned, right? She had to prove a point. So he just once saw a horse feeder, horse trough. And that was obviously not selling. And he said, maybe I can convert it to a bathtub. And in 1873, he figured out a way of enameling cast iron. Then he added 4 beautiful decorative feet to it and sold it for 14 chickens and a cow. And David Kohler still says that, our modern day tubs will not get that kind of price. So that's the beginning, that is the humble beginning of the Kohler enterprise. And that power to innovate, power to stay relevant, and be creative has been passed along through the generations. And many of us who work for Kohler have, through a process of osmosis, I would say, imbibed it. I'm not particularly creative, honestly, but I admire and I appreciate creativity. And Kohler gives that opportunity, not merely in products, in everything that we do. We run a hotels business in US, not too many people know, because architecture, design, urban planning is so important. We are headquartered in this small place called Kohler. It's in the heart of Wisconsin. Only 2,000 people. I remember addressing a senior management conference and saying, my condominium has actually more people. But they have a 50-year master plan. Can you imagine?
Wow,
So that's how committed they are about everything design, environment, and community. They actually used the Olmsted brothers who designed Central Park to design that little village. So you go there today, you'll never see any hedges. The houses are not separated by hedges. It's like a little European garden city.
So what you're saying is, it started as a family business. The first thing they ever built was a cast iron bathtub.
Yes.
And there's this beautiful little village, which I know because I was very kindly invited, but I couldn't go, but I've seen beautiful photographs of it. And here you are between India and Thailand.
Right.
No, but no, besides the pun intended over there, I guess. It's a long way from where the seed kind of started.
Absolutely.
And it's fantastic. And obviously, from everything you're saying, Kohler's gone into the hotel business, sustainability, all of that is key. So I want to talk about a little bit about Kohler in India, but Deepika ji, Artinox is a homegrown brand. And over the last, I guess, more so over COVID, we've heard a lot about Made in India. And also, post-COVID, we've seen a lot of international brands enter India. And your brand came alive at a very competitive time, I would say. Social media was growing. Today, something is new. Tomorrow, it's old, because that's what social media decides to status at. So it was a tough time to enter. So I'm sure there must have been many disappointments and things you had to figure out, because from what I understand, you had to teach yourself business and how to run a business. So how was it? Here we're talking about a brand which is 150 years old, continuing a legacy, and here you are who took a brand, in a way, it's your other child, came in at a very, very competitive time into an Indian market, which is also being attacked by a lot of international brands. And I'm all for competition. I think that's what allows you to achieve more. But what were some of the difficulties that you faced, and what are some of your proudest moments in that journey?
Well, the journey has been quite tough, I would say, because when I started, there was really no designer, there was no startups, there was no think tank that you could go for advice. And since the family was only into raw materials and not into products, they had no idea of what is to create products and put it into retail. And I remember when I started, my husband, I said, if I'm going to start, I need somebody who can work with me. He said, I have one person I can give you. I said, fine. So this gentleman was very strong in materials, had no sense of design. So first I had to outsource stuff because of no machines, no manpower, anything regarding how to make products. So I remember I created this one cup and saucer, and I was just looking at it, and I told this gentleman, just to speak aloud, that how is it? He started weighing that and saying, ma'am, ye to 1 kilo ka hai, isko 100 rupiya milega. I said, what are you saying? He's saying, nahi, isse zyada to aap, he said, you won't get more than this. And I was like so disheartened. I went home and I said, you don't have anybody better to give me to work with me. He doesn't know anything. He said, well, if you want to work, you just work with him. I have nobody. It was a very tough journey. There was no designers working in stainless steel. Stainless steel is a very difficult material to design, very difficult from what you use in copper or brass or any other material. There were no, manufacturing facilities. You had to go to these small-time manufacturers to produce. They would, give you some product, and tomorrow they would come and say, you have to give me 10 plus more, we are not going to give you. So every time it was a big challenge. It took me many years to convince my husband that I need a plant. Any designer would come up and show them, they said the quality is not up to the mark. So it was every process was, was like really struggling to get yourself, noticed or understood. And then the plant came up. Then in Jindal's, nothing is small, everything is huge. So when this big plant came up, now you needed more business. How do you work with such a big plant with all these machines, and you have to be sustainable in terms of, cost and all. So then you had to look at other opportunities in business, and my focus was just the brand. And, I was not very ready to bring in 10 other businesses into this fold so that, your focus just changes. But it grew like that, so many times we had our designs copied by other manufacturers, would sell it half the price. Then slowly we learned from ourselves, from our own, team, got designers, trained them. And I would very proudly say that when India talks of made in India today, Ardinox has been made in India from the inception. Every team, every designer, every manpower, all is from India. A lot of people told me, why don't you go abroad? Once you go out of India, you'll get more name, fame, and when you bring the brand into the country, people will buy and all. I said, no. I had always made myself promise, I want to create this ecosystem of design and design culture in the country where there was nobody doing this. And that's why I remained, within the country and worked with the Indian designers, whether they were young or they really had no experience, still I was willing to work with them.
That's really fantastic, actually. I do feel that a lot of us in India tend to reach out to foreign designers for their design aesthetics rather than try and find the genius within. And there are so many. And I think that's wonderful what you've done. But while it's made in India, you took a harder path going down made in India. But how really entering in such a competitive environment, I mean, for me, when I look at your legacy, it's not just about Jindal Steel. I think you yourself are creating your own legacy, and I think that's really beautiful. But to keep a brand like that alive while having entered in such a competitive environment, what do you think you did to set yourself apart?
I think it was my own determination, and I'm very strongly spiritual from inside. And when this brand came up, I always knew it was a divine blessing for me, and till date, that's my strength. And whatever came my way, there were a lot of difficult times, a time when things were not really working at all, but still it was there. And I knew it in my core that there is something which it's got a larger purpose. It's got a huge larger purpose than just what I've created here. So I think that just made me go. I
Wonderful.
can only say that. Yeah.
Salil, please tell me, and this is more for educating myself and learning from you. Kohler has been in India for some time now. How many years is that? You came into India when?
18 years.
18 years ago.
18 years, yeah.
And you are still seriously relevant, right? I mean, when I'm doing homes, one of the top brands sought after is your brand. And how have you managed that journey to stay so relevant, and not just in terms of aesthetic appeal, but also in terms of price point, because you yourself have seen, coming from a marketing background, the sort of level of competition that's here around. So what has kept Kohler so relevant?
So as a company, we have a very interesting philosophy. So, and David Kohler often talks about that. When we look at our competitive set, we are not actually looking at our direct competitors at all. They exist, we need to be aware of them, but they are not the ones that inspire us. Today, we look at the Teslas of the world, the Amazon of the world, Facebook, Google, you name it, because we believe that a future competitor is going to come from outside the industry. So that there's a bit of paranoia there, and that paranoia drives us to really experiment with the way we think about product development. So the toilet that we have here, Numi 2.0, it's an intelligent toilet. I mean, you can play music, it dries you, it has a bidet, it has got mood lighting, you name it, right?
Do you use it?
I can't afford it.
Okay.
So
neither can I, by the way. So.
I can't, but I think some people in this audience.
I think we should have a little chat with David Kohler about that. I think you deserve one.
I was telling my team actually that if I need a retirement gift from Kohler, it's going to be Numi 2.0. Has to be. It's just too cool. Now, you know, if we had looked at our normal competitors, we would not have come up with a product like that. Every year, we participate in the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas. That's not a bathroom fittings show. It is the who's who, Samsung, Tesla, Facebook. Since 2018, we have been participating there. And this product that we're displaying was shown in January. So that's one aspect of how we look at products. The second is that we stay really close to the creative fraternity. People like you, product designers, artists. So we've had many successful collaborations. For example, Yarke Ingalls has done a faucet range for our Callista brand. Laura Kirar has designed products for us. Samuel Ross, who's the current Earthing, has done a faucet and a freaky-looking intelligent toilet for us. Here, closer to India, David has always been excited by the history of arts and crafts in India. You know, the family did a holiday a few years back, went to Jaipur, Agra, the usual Benares, and every single day he would send me pictures of faucets with a spout looking like a lion and all of that. He said, why are you guys not doing it? Then we said, yeah, probably it is time. And we launched Kila 2 years back. It's a homage to miniature art form. We worked with a Padma Shri winning artist, Jai Prakash ji. We used his original artwork. All we did was find a way to make it manufacturable. And we launched it in the market. Now, those are not things you could have learned by just looking at your direct competition. So that's where we get our energy from as a company culturally. And the promoting family drives us to think like that. And one of the things we are doing with Killa is that it's the limited edition, numbered, the artist's signature is on that, a little story, it's as authentic as it gets. And whatever profits we get out of selling those products are going to go back into the Arts Foundation. So this unique outside in is what pushes us, what keeps us relevant, and I would say, I dare say, ahead of most of our direct competitors.
That's wonderful. Coming to what you said, and in fact, it was my next question for the both of you, but I'll let you answer it first. You both are so driven with craft in what you do. And of course, had the honor of being there at the launch of Killa, which was absolutely beautiful. I want to ask you, as a branding exercise, how well do these, and because you're in so many countries, right, how well do these local inspired products sell for you across the world?
Great question, Kohelika. Some transfer easily. Killa probably won't be one of those. And we knew that when we launched it. It's more likely to appeal.
Thus I'm also imagining the marketing strategy of making it a limited edition.
Yeah, but it was planned to be a limited edition. We didn't want to massify that product. It's also good for the brand. But there are some products which have more universal appeal. One of our I would say all-time big hits in the artist edition is a product called Marrakesh. It's a brilliant vessel.
I've used it. It's absolutely beautiful, yes.
And it is inspired by Moroccan Moorish architecture. And it's a big hit, a big seller across the world. So we are aware that some things work in some markets. Some are probably not as transferable. But that does not bother us. India is a very important market for Kohler. So this focus on designing in India for Indian sensibilities is an important foundation for building a brand in Kohler.
What I think is fabulous about what you said is there are not that many Indian brands who are your competitors who are doing that.
Right.
But yet Kohler, which is an international brand out of America, doing that, I think is wonderful. And I've always wondered how the West catches up to us much faster than we catch up with ourselves, whether they are brands like Hermes or Chanel. And I think this is something that is now changing with brands like yours, Deepika ji. So please also tell me about, you are so invested in crafts, and at least your product, I mean, there's the kitchen business, of course, and there's the product business. And you have also really worked extremely hard to create these products and working with craftsmen. Please tell us a little about that, because like you said, steel is such a hard product to work with. Was it easy to find people who were doing things? Where did the designs finally come from? Or were they also driven by what the craftsman could do?
Well, actually, the entire product is never made by the craftsperson. So it's partly from the plant, and then it's been given finishes by craft. So it has to be, actually, there has to be a kind of a quality and a standard. And if you give it to craft, then everything becomes very, it's different in shapes. So you can't do that with stainless steel. So basically, what we do is that the designers are all local, are from India. So we do definitely understand the Indian sensibility. And since our products are for the Indian consumers, we think in that way. And I'm personally invested in the design space in my company. So, I always look and think as myself as the buyer and what would I prefer when I bought. So we really make a combination of products, and then we go to the respective craft to see what works in that product. So it's a combination of the plant and the craftsman. So it's not only a craft work, actually. It's a mix.
So tell me a little bit more about, I find the word sustainability is thrown around a lot. And one of the questions, actually, Deepika ji, I also had for you is that a lot of your products are quite small. And I wonder whether a lot of them come out of waste from the larger brand, or is everything in terms of reuse of material or a way to find how to use scrap. Something we do is when we use a lot of leather, we turn the cut pieces of leather, because of course leather is not a perfect rectangle or a square, and we make products out of those because they're just there, and and we make useful function products out of there. Is there a sustainable way, or is there a route of sustainability that you see a way forward for your brand?
Interestingly, stainless steel is a very sustainable material. You can reuse it anytime. It goes back into the plant and it's reused. So we don't have that. I mean, now this term has become very prominent, so it makes it easier to say that we are a sustainable brand because we have the material which is sustainable on its own. So when we create products, what we try to do is that we try to, whatever we create, because once the dye is made, it's not very easy to, every product needs a dye. So it's very expensive to make a product, it's not like just make a circle and just bend it or something. So we try and reuse the same products in various ways, so that the same shape can be used in multiple different objects, so it's actually using the same form in different areas.
One could be a cup, but one could become a part of a bigger piece. Nice.
So that's how we sort of make it more practical and sustainable than, of course. And of course, in plants also now you're becoming more sustainable with power, and all the other usages are more solar and all these. So.
I find that the word sustainability is used way more often than I think things are sustainable. But when we talk about sustainability, is it sustainable to keep alive legacies? Or do you feel that moving forward, there are other things that need to happen, or a change that happens? Recently, I hate saying this, but I, in a way, am a product in this business of legacy, because a lot of people refer to my mother as a legend, who's sitting here with us. And when I came back, one of the hardest things for me was that, you're part of a legacy. And like you, in a similar way, one had to find one's own footing. But when I speak about myself, what I think has carried forward, the legacy that has carried forward, is the ethos, which is something you've talked about, and what her true belief and her approach to design was. So, but somewhere, and we have rebranded, and when you come around and see the show, you will see, and we have rebranded and done various things, and as a marketing person, you may agree or disagree to certain things. But how sustainable are legacies?
I think when I look at Kohler, we have completed 150 years.
Yes.
I mean, that is clear data and evidence.
But how many others? And I think Kohler is amazing for doing that. So on a personal front, running this business, marketing, branding, it must be extremely hard.
Yes, it is extremely hard. And I think that's one of the reasons we have chosen to remain private and not get public. I mean, we will be valued in billions of dollars if we were to, let's say, go public. We'll get really easy funds. But one of the reasons the Kohlers do not want to go public is the short-term pressures that come on the table. If you're a listed company, you have to listen to external shareholders who really don't have necessarily a skin in your operational game. So that's one of the reasons we are probably going to be private forever. And the second is the founder's mentality. It's in the gene pool. And I remember about 5-6 years back, we said that we are going to be net zero in 2035. And I'll be very honest, actually. When I first heard that, I was skeptical. Really? You're going to be able to be net zero 2035, given the heavy energy-consuming manufacturing locations we have? So I was studying some data the last week, and here is some data. Our energy consumption has reduced by 40% in the last 10 years. Our waste to landfill and our withdrawal of groundwater has reduced by 60% in the last 15 years. And in the US alone, we have saved 560 billion liters of water over the last 15, 16 years because we are making products that consume less water. Now, I think those are awesome statistics. And I recently visited, we have this incubation cell called Waste Lab. And it's in a little garage-like place, very edgy. And what they're doing is that they are taking manufacturing byproduct and converting it to beautiful products that you can actually use. So we have a set of tiles which is coming out of foundry waste. And they are incredible. So that entire cycle of managing sustainability is very important to us, to the extent that Laura Kohler, who you know very well, came to your house a few years back, she is now the head of sustainability and stewardship for the company. They don't want it to be an associate. The family will be leading that initiative. So I have a lot more confidence in the fact that we will walk the talk that I've heard.
That's wonderful, actually. So you're approaching sustainability actually from all sides of it.
Yeah, and businesses are measured.
All directions. And
businesses are measured. Every year I have to report percentage of DFE products. That means DFE is designed for environment. And I have to prove it why it is better than its predecessor. So that's measured, that metric is measured on an annual basis for all big businesses. So I can't get away by just greenwashing.
No. Obviously, I mean, numbers mean something, so I think that's fantastic what you guys are doing. I would love to carry on asking questions. However, we are running out of time. But on a last note, and maybe the audience can take this up, is both Kohler, not just talking about sustainability in craft, but also your company and the legacy of your company gives back so much. Please tell us a little bit about what you do in terms of, what you do to give back to the community.
Actually, we are a subsidiary of Jindal Stainless. So the CSR work that we do is actually connected to the larger company, not alone as Jindal Lifestyle. So there's a lot of work going on there in terms of, we have hospitals, we have schools, we have women empowerment programs, we have, so
if I may interrupt, I think I love the way you say we, but when I read more and more about you, I see how involved you yourself personally are in all these ventures. And I think it's wonderful that I know that you are a small part of the bigger picture. But I really want to know what you do personally, because I've read about it, and it's some of the most wonderful things to read.
Well, personally, you see, the CSR I'm the chairperson of the CSR Foundation, so every project that we take up is run through me, and whatever we do in terms of women empowerment in the various factory locations that we have, or whether the education programs we run, or sensitizing projects that we carry on, everything goes, and we do multiple of all kinds of projects around, especially around Orissa and Hisar is where the main plants are, where we see the need with farmers, and so we have organic farming, and so there's a lot of things we work with projects, and it's basically, it's spearheaded by myself. So basically it's a foundation which is doing all the work.
Well, I think it's wonderful, and what I understand is that if you want to have a company that becomes, and you want to pass down to the next generations and have a legacy, I think thinking about the community and having sustainable approaches, not just to luxury and form and function, but also footprint, as you so well defined, is the way forward. Would it be fair to say that?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, our mission statement today, it's been recrafted. It's a 50-year-old mission statement, has been recrafted. It has evolved to actually manifest that, really. So our new mission statement is give people gracious, healthy, and sustainable lives.
How beautiful that is. That is truly beautiful.
It's as simple as that.
Well, thank you so much. It was a real pleasure having and sitting here with both of you. And actually, I got to learn a lot. So I have to thank India Design and Preeti and the whole rest of them who will be thanked many times over. But thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kohler. Pleasure to be here.